Imagine a jar. And in this jar, you could have various things. You could have cookies, you could have brownies, you could have mini donuts or something. Okay, let's keep it simple. You got some M&Ms in this jar. Say you've got 3 red M&Ms and maybe 2 green M&Ms. In that jar, okay, don't shake it too hard because the M&Ms might break, but you shake it a little bit to mix them up. And you are randomly going to select 3 M&Ms from this jar without replacement. Select 3 M&Ms from this jar. You might say one at a time, and as you take them out one at a time, you don't put them back, you don't replace them. You're going to eat them, okay? You could imagine mixing it up and taking 3 at once as well, and that would be effectively the same thing without replacement. And you're wondering, what is the probability? Maybe you prefer red to green M&Ms. What's the probability that in those 3 choices you get 2 or more red M&Ms? Get 2 or more red M&Ms. What is that probability? We could think about this probability without thinking about random variables, but since we've got a number in there, 2 or more, let me go ahead and also think about this in terms of a random variable. We could let x equal the number of red M&Ms in this setting where we are selecting 3 without replacement. You could think of the red M&Ms as being success and the green M&Ms as being failure. So you're counting the number of successes in 3 trials. Is this binomial? No, it's not, because it's without replacement. If you replaced the M&Ms that you pick out, and each time you mix them up again, keeping the probability of success constant at 0.6, 3/5, then you could think of it as a binomial distribution. But because you're doing it without replacement, it's no longer binomial. It's actually hypergeometric, but I'm not going to use the hypergeometric PMF, at least right away here. How could you solve this without using that hypergeometric PMF? You could solve it by thinking about it. Well, I mean, you don't have to make a tree diagram, but I think it's helpful. The first branch representing your first selection. Maybe I should make the branches a different color than red here. It's either red or green for your first selection. You got a 3/5 probability of red, 0.6, and a 2/5 probability of green, right? 0.4 in that first selection. But then with the second selection, you got to think in terms of conditional probabilities because it's without replacement. The probability of success, red, in either situation changes. If you got a red the first time, success, the probability of getting a red the second time goes down because you took one of those reds. Now there's only 2 out of 4 left. 2 out of 4, 1/2, or 0.5 is your probability of red. Your probability of green in that case, that conditional probability is also 0.5. On the other hand, if you got a green the first time you picked, the probability of getting a red goes up. Pick a green the first time, now you got 3 out of 4 that are red. The conditional probability here is 3/4, 0.75 for getting a red on the second draw. And for green, it goes down to 1/4, 0.25. And then in the third draw, You could get a red or a green. Red or a green. I'm getting confused with all these colors here. Okay, I'll go ahead and continue to make two sets of branches here. Red or green, red or green, red or green. Although the very last G here can't happen because there aren't three greens. That one will have a probability of 0, just looking ahead here. What's this probability? If you get a red the first two draws, you got only one red left out of 3, 1/3. 0.3 repeating. 2/3 probability of getting a green, I'll write it as 0.6 repeating. If you get a red then a green here, then you get how many reds left? You got 2 reds left and 1 green. I guess this would be 2/3, 0.6 repeating. So this would be 1/3, 0.3 repeating. Here it's similar. You took out overall 1 red and 1 green so far. So you've got 2 reds left and 1 green. This is 0.6 repeating and 0.3 repeating. And if you've taken 2 greens out the first 2 draws, for sure you're going to get a red and you're not going to get a green. So I'm computing after this first set of branches, really conditional probabilities. But there is a generalized multiplication rule. That's no longer the axiom 3 for mutually exclusive events. Well, it's not the multiplication rule for independent events, I mean to say, that says to find the probability, for example, of getting 3 reds, there's only one set of branches that gives you 3 reds. You still multiply the conditional probabilities, a generalized multiplication rule. So the probability of x equaling 3 would be the product 0.6 times 0.5 times 0.3 repeating, or if you prefer, you could do fractions. 0.6 times 0.5 times 0.33333. Maybe I should have just divided by 3. Looks like it's 0.09 repeating. Actually, that's funny. That's the same as 0.1, actually. If you don't believe me, check it out with fractions. 3/5 times 1/2 times 1/3. The 3's cancel, and this simplifies to 1/10. 0.09 with the 9 repeating is the same as 0.1. Actually, these are the exact same numbers. It's just like 0.9 repeating equals 1. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but it's true. Probability along. What about the probability of x equaling 2? X is the number of red M&Ms. What set of branches do you get? Number of red M&Ms. What set of branches do you get 2 reds? That one, this one, and this one. So I've got to compute the probabilities along those branches and add the results, right? So this would be looking along this one. It looks like 0.6 times 0.5 times 0.6 repeating. And since 0.6 repeating is double 0.3 repeating, that's got to be 0.2, but I'll do a plus sign here first because I got to add the other ones. Plus another copy of that, actually. 0.6 times, make sure I don't make a mistake. That's still a 0.5 there, times another 0.6 repeating. Hopefully I'm not making a mistake. Then a plus 0.4 times 0.75 times 0.6 repeating. Again, those first two are double this one, so those should be 0.2s. And this last 1.4 times 0.75 times 2 divided by 3 times 2/3 is another 0.2. Looks like if I did not make a mistake, your probability of getting 2 red M&Ms is 0.6. How about getting 1 red M&M? The only way that's going to happen is, oh, there's 2 ways it can happen. Going along this path and this path. The final path along the bottom can't happen because that probability is 0. Might be nicer to just do your products and put the answers here and then do your work over here, because this is getting kind of messy. I'm looking first along this path where I see the red, then the green, then the green. I see a 0.6. I should have used green here. 0.6 times 0.5 times 0.3 repeating. And then I'm looking down here, 0.4 times 0.25 times 1. I mean, the answer has got to be 0.3, right? Because these probabilities better add to 1. In the end, this should be 0.3. This 0.6 times 0.5 times 0.3 repeating is the same as the very first calculation. That's a 0.1. And this indeed is another 0.1. So there's a mistake somewhere. Giving us 0.2. So what's my mistake? I'm not sure what my mistake is.
You missed
Where did I miss? It should point to
you missed the path that goes green, red, green.
green, red, green. Missed that path. Okay, thank you. 0.4 plus times 0.75 times 0.3 repeating. Should be hopefully another 0.1. Let's just make sure. 0.4 times 0.75 divided by 3. Oh yeah, okay, I can see that was other one was 0.2. This is 0.1 is well, yes, 0.3. Thank you. Yeah, and there's no way for x to equal 0, right? As the x is the number of red M&Ms, you're selecting 3 M&Ms total. You're going to get at least 1 red M&M. So these are the possible values for the random variable x, 3, 2, and 1, and these are the 3 different probabilities that you get for it. You should be able to do those kind of calculations. And then the final answer then would be for the probability that x is greater than or equal to 2, it would be, in this situation at least, the probability that x equals 2 plus the probability that x equals 3. 0.6 plus 0.1. You got a 70% chance of getting 2 or more red M&Ms in this situation. So you should be able to do this kind of problem. Probably I'd give you a simpler problem on the test, because that took a while. Very easy to make a mistake, as I almost did. Maybe I don't know, give you just 2 draws instead of 3 draws. Maybe I'd change the number of red and green. Okay. Though that's something you should be able to do. But this is a special case of the hypergeometric distribution. What is a hypergeometric distribution? So I'm just introducing this to you. I'm not going to assign any homework problems about it. You should be able to do the kind of problem I just did for the test as practice with really the general multiplication rule and thinking about tree diagrams and that kind of thing. But this formula does work here. What is the situation? You got, think of it in terms of the jar with M&Ms in it. You got a certain number of trials, or a certain population of size capital N. Capital N is 5 in our example because there's 5 M&Ms total. This picture might be helpful as well. N objects, 5 M&Ms, 3 reds and 2 greens. Capital N is 5. You've got R that have the trait that you're interested in, red in our case. R is 3. And minus R that don't have that trait, those are the green M&Ms. 5 minus 3 is 2. You're selecting a sample of size little n. I was selecting 3 M&Ms without replacement. That's the key thing here. It's without replacement. There's the formula you use. It's a fraction where the numerator is the product of 2 combinations and the denominator is a combination. And it's kind of scary looking when you look at it. But when you read this section carefully, it's not nearly as scary as it looks. And when you think about examples like the M&Ms, you'll see that it seems very reasonable. Let's confirm that this really does work here. Let's confirm in particular that the probability of getting 2 red M&Ms is 0.6. Why don't we use the formula to confirm that? So again, in our situation, capital N is 5. There's 5 total M&Ms. Little r, success, is red M&Ms. There were 3 of those. I'm selecting a sample of size 3 here. Little r and little n happen to be the same thing, but they didn't have to be. I could have selected a sample of size 2, for example. 2 M&Ms instead of 3. And x is the number of successes. For us, that's red M&Ms. What is the probability that capital X equals 2? That should be the value of the PMF at 2. Let's use the formula. I'll just write down what the general formula is, and then I'll plug the numbers in. The general formula is a fraction where the numerator is r choose x times capital N minus little n choose little n minus x divided by capital N choose little n, where x is 2 here. So we're after the probability of 2 successes. When I do this calculation, if I don't make a mistake, I should get 0.6. R is 3, so I'm doing 3 choose 2. Then 5 minus 3, choose 3 minus 2. Capital N's 5, little n's 3, little x is 2, little r is 3. All over 5 choose 3. That's the same as 2 choose 1. 3 choose 2, choose 2, if you figure it out, is 3. 2 choose 1 is 2. 5 choose 3 turns out to be 5 times 4 over 2. It turns out to be 10. This is 6/10.6. We've confirmed the answer. I'll let you take the time to confirm those combination calculations on your own if you want. If you want to think about factorials, just to be careful. I did those kind of quickly in my head for the most part. Okay, so the formula does work. This is right. The domain of this is a little strange as well. X is, well, the maximum of 0 and that thing is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to the minimum of N and R. Oh, what is this? Okay, well, again, capital N's 5, little r is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Sample of size 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Maximum of 0 and 1 is 1. This quantity here could be negative. That's why you have a 0 there. But for us, this is a 1. Yeah, our x couldn't be less than 1. Minimum of little n and little r is the minimum, for our case, of 3 and 3, which is 3. Our discrete random variable takes on values 1, 2, and 3 with positive probability. Think about other examples to confirm this. Okay, so I'm just introducing this. You don't actually have to use this formula on the test unless you want to for a problem like I just did. You can use it if you want to. I'm not going to stop you, but you can also use a tree diagram and think about it from scratch.